London, 1888, a city of contrasts. The grandeur of the British Empire stood side by side with poverty and despair. Deep in the shadows of the East End, where life was brutal and short, a predator stalked the streets. His name, Jack the Ripper. His crimes, so brutal they would echo across history, leaving a trail of fear, fascination, and unanswered questions. The story begins in the dark alleys of Whitechapel, a working-class district plagued by overcrowding and poverty. The Ripper's reign of terror began on August 31st, 1888, when the body of Mary Ann Nichols was discovered. She was found on a dimly lit street, her throat brutally slashed and her body mutilated. Mary Ann, known as Polly to her friends, was the first of 5 canonical victims attributed to Jack the Ripper. Each of these women lived hard lives, working as prostitutes to survive. But what made these murders so chilling was the sheer brutality and the pattern that quickly emerged. Just 8 days later, another body was found. Annie Chapman, a 47-year-old woman, was discovered in the backyard of 29 Hanbury Street. Her throat had been cut, and her body showed horrifying signs of mutilation. This was no ordinary killer. Jack the Ripper wasn't just taking lives. He was sending a message. On the night of September 30th, the Ripper struck twice, in what became known as the double event. Elizabeth Stride was found first, her throat slit but with no further mutilations. It seemed the killer had been interrupted. Less than an hour later, the body of Catherine Eddowes was found in Mitre Square. This time the mutilations were as gruesome as ever. The final victim, Mary Jane Kelly, was discovered on November 9th. Her murder was the most horrifying of all, with her body so mutilated that it was almost unrecognizable. The killer had more time, and he used it. During the murders, letters began arriving at the Central News Agency and Scotland Yard, taunting the police and the public. One of these, known as the Dear Boss letter, was signed with the chilling name Jack the Ripper, a moniker that would become infamous worldwide. Another letter, the Saucy Jackie postcard, referred to the double event murders, but the most infamous of all was the From Hell letter, sent with a grisly package, a piece of human kidney believed to belong to Catherine Eddowes. Were these letters truly from the killer, or were they the work of a macabre hoaxer? To this day, no one knows. Jack the Ripper vanished as quickly as he appeared, leaving a flurry of speculation in his wake. Over the years, dozens of suspects have been proposed, from surgeons to aristocrats to artists. One of the most infamous suspects was a Polish immigrant named Aaron Kosminski, a barber who was institutionalized shortly after the murders ended. Others pointed fingers at Montague Druitt, a barrister whose death by suicide coincided with the end of the killings. Then there was Walter Sickert, a painter whose work many believe contained clues to the Ripper's identity. Even the royal family wasn't spared, with some theorists suggesting Prince Albert Victor was the killer, though there's no evidence to support this. Despite modern advancements like DNA testing, none of the suspects have been definitively proven to be the Ripper. The case remains as elusive as ever. The Whitechapel murders not only left behind a trail of death, but also reshaped how we think about crime. Jack the Ripper is often considered the first modern serial killer, his crimes marking the dawn of sensationalist media coverage. Newspapers competed to publish the most lurid details, fanning public panic while cementing the Ripper as a figure of infamy. Tourists still flock to Whitechapel today, retracing the Ripper's steps on guided tours. His story has inspired countless books, films, and theories, keeping the legend alive. But the most haunting part of all, we still don't know who he was or why he killed. The case of Jack the Ripper reminds us of the dark depths of human nature and the vulnerabilities of society's most marginalized. His victims were women who lived on the fringes, struggling to survive in a harsh world. Yet their names, Mary Ann Nichols, Annie Chapman, Elizabeth Stride, Catherine Eddowes, and Mary Jane Kelly, should be remembered as more than just footnotes in his story. Thank you for joining us on this chilling journey into one of history's most enduring mysteries. If you enjoyed this deep dive into true crime, give this video a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe for more true crime stories every week. Until next time, stay curious and stay safe.